Rian was a human warrior who had traveled far across the stars. He was not a soldier for glory or wealth, but a man who had learned how to survive in harsh lands and strange worlds. For many years, he had moved from one frontier to another, helping small settlements and protecting trade routes. Now he found himself on a quiet world, covered with green forests and wide valleys. The air was clear, the rivers pure, and the nights filled with bright stars. To him, it felt like a place where he could finally rest. One afternoon, Rian wandered into a valley where tall trees stood like guards of nature. He carried only a light pack and his old blade, which had seen many battles. He thought he would spend the day hunting or exploring, but something unusual caught his eye. In the distance, smoke curled upward through the trees. At first, he believed it was from a forest fire, but the smoke was thin and steady, not wild. Curiosity pulled him closer. Rian walked carefully, his steps quiet on the mossy ground. Birds flew away as he passed, and small animals darted into the undergrowth. When he reached a clearing, his heart froze for a moment. There, hidden among broken branches, was a strange craft, unlike any human design he had ever seen. Its silver body was torn open on one side, glowing faintly as though it still carried power. It was an alien ship. Cautiously, Rian approached. He had heard stories of alien travelers, some friendly, some distant, but he had never expected to find one crashed in the middle of a forest. The craft's surface was covered with marks, as if it had fallen from the sky at great speed. Pieces of metal lay scattered on the ground, and strange symbols glowed faintly on its surface. Inside the torn opening, Rian saw movement. His hand rested on the hilt of his blade, but he did not draw it. Instead, he leaned closer, listening. A faint sound reached him: ragged breathing. Rian stepped into the broken ship. The air inside smelled of smoke and something sharp, almost metallic. He found a figure lying against the wall. It was not human. The figure was tall, slender, with pale blue skin that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Silver hair spread around her shoulders, tangled and messy. She wore a gown of strange material that seemed part armor, part royal cloth. Her eyes were half closed, glowing softly like stars hidden behind clouds. Rian's first thought was clear: this was no ordinary traveler. This was someone important, perhaps even sacred to her people. And she was dying. The princess, though Rian did not yet know her name, tried to speak, but only a faint whisper came. Her hands trembled as she clutched her side. A wound spread across her ribs, deep and bleeding. The strange blood that flowed from her body glowed faintly, yet it was running out fast. Rian knelt beside her. He had treated wounds before, but never of another species. Still, he could not simply walk away. He pressed his hand against the wound, trying to slow the bleeding. To his surprise, when his skin touched hers, the glowing blood shimmered brighter. The princess gasped softly, her chest rising as if her body had been given sudden strength. Rian frowned. This reaction was not normal. Something about his presence seemed to affect her. He quickly tore a strip of cloth from his sleeve and bound the wound as best he could. Her breathing slowed but did not stop. She opened her eyes fully for a brief moment, and Rian saw their deep silver color. "Who are you?" she whispered, her voice weak but filled with quiet command. "Rian," he answered simply. "A human. I found your ship. You are hurt." She tried to rise but failed, her body too weak. "My people will not reach me in time," she murmured. "It is too late." Rian shook his head. "Not if I can help you. Stay awake. Breathe slowly." He noticed something unusual. A small drop of her glowing blood had touched a cut on his hand from earlier in the day. Instead of burning or harming him, the blood blended into his skin, leaving behind a faint shimmer. His cut closed faster than it should have. Rian stared at it in shock. The princess also saw it, and her weak eyes widened. "Your blood, it speaks to mine." Rian did not understand, but he knew one thing: if her body reacted to his touch, perhaps there was more he could do. She was fading quickly, her head resting against the cold wall. Her breath came slower each time. He knew he had little time to act. "Listen," he said firmly. "I do not know who you are, but I will not let you die here. If my blood can help you, then I will give it." She looked at him with disbelief, as if no one had ever spoken such words to her before. "You would risk your life for me, a stranger?" Rian gave a small smile. "Life is life. No one deserves to be left alone in their last moment. If I can help, I will." He pulled a small blade from his belt and made a shallow cut on his arm. Blood welled up, red and human. Carefully, he pressed it against her wound. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the glowing lines on her skin brightened, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The princess gasped, her chest rising sharply. Her body trembled, but the bleeding slowed. Her eyes opened wider, no longer fading. She reached out weakly, her hand resting on his arm. For a moment, her strength returned enough for her to speak clearly. "Rian," she whispered. She had only heard his name once, yet she spoke it as if she had always known it. Rian felt a strange pull in his chest, like an invisible thread linking him to her. He had given his blood before in battles, to friends and allies, but never had he felt such a connection. This was something beyond medicine, beyond logic. The alien princess closed her eyes again, but now her breathing was steady, not broken. She was alive, held between life and death by the strange bond that had formed through his blood. Rian sat beside her, keeping watch over the broken ship. The forest around them was silent, as though the world itself waited to see what would happen next. He did not know who she truly was, or what future his choice would bring. But he knew one truth: this was no ordinary meeting. His life had just changed forever. The forest night grew darker, and the stars shone above the valley. Rian sat near the broken ship, his back against a piece of fallen metal. He kept his eyes on the princess, watching her carefully. Her breathing had become steady, her color less pale. The glow in her veins remained faint but stable. It was proof that the blood he gave her had done something strange and powerful. Rian did not understand how his blood could keep her alive, but he felt a weight inside him. It was not the weight of fear, but of responsibility. This alien was not just another traveler. She carried the presence of someone noble, someone who mattered greatly. If she died here, the galaxy might lose more than a single life. The princess stirred. Her silver eyes opened slightly, and she looked at him with weak but steady focus. "You gave yourself to me," she whispered. Her voice was soft, but her words carried strength. Rian nodded. "It was the only way. Your wound was too deep. My blood seemed to hold you together." Her gaze lingered on him, filled with both wonder and doubt. "Do you know what you have done, human?" "I saved a life," Rian answered simply. "That is enough." She shook her head faintly. "Not saved. Changed. Our bodies are not meant to mix. My people believe such a thing is impossible. Yet here I live because of you." Rian leaned closer, his voice calm. "What matters is that you are breathing now. The rest we can understand later." The princess closed her eyes briefly, then opened them again. "I am Liora," she said, as though sharing her name was both a gift and a secret. "Daughter of the Star Throne." The name meant little to Rian, but he could tell it carried great weight. She was not just important, she was royalty. He had guessed as much from her clothing and presence, but hearing it confirmed the truth. "You are far from your throne, Princess Liora," he said gently. She gave a faint smile. "I was escaping shadows. Enemies seek me. They wish to end my line. My ship was struck, and I fell here." Her voice trembled, not from fear but from weakness. "I thought my story would end in this forest. But you, a human warrior, chose to give me your lifeblood. Why? Rian looked at his arm, where the small cut he had made was already healing. The faint shimmer from her blood still marked his skin. He answered after a pause. Because no one deserves to die alone. Not you, not anyone. If I can hold death back, even for a moment, I will. Liora studied him, her silver eyes shining like moons. Among my people, such a bond is not taken lightly. Blood is life. To share it means more than you know. Her words settled heavy in Rian's mind, but he did not regret his choice. He had faced storms, battles, and loneliness, yet none had felt as sharp as the sight of her lying broken in the wreck. His instinct had spoken, and he had followed it. He adjusted her bandage with care, making sure the wound stayed sealed. You need more rest, he said. Your strength will return slowly. But Liora shook her head. Already I feel different. She touched her arm, tracing the faint glow that now pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Your blood runs through me. It does not poison or reject. Instead, it binds. My body answers to yours. Rian frowned. What do you mean? She looked at him with strange certainty. I feel your presence. Even now, your heart speaks to mine. It is faint, but it is real. Rian grew silent. He felt it too, an odd pull in his chest, as though a thread tied him to her. He had noticed it the moment she whispered his name, but he had pushed the thought aside. Now he could not deny it. Perhaps it is only because you are weak, he said quietly. Perhaps, she whispered back. But the way her eyes held his told him she did not believe it was so simple. The night stretched long. Rian built a small fire outside the broken ship, its warmth pushing back the chill. He caught water from a nearby stream and brought it to her. She drank slowly, her hands still trembling, but her strength was returning bit by bit. When she rested again, Rian sat near the fire, staring into the flames. His mind turned with questions. Who had attacked her? Why did his blood keep her alive? What would happen when her people found out? He had no answers. All he knew was that fate had tied him to this moment. Hours passed. The forest grew quiet, except for the crackling of the fire and the soft breathing from inside the wreck. Rian allowed himself a moment of peace. Yet even as he sat still, he felt the faint pulse of the bond, echoing through his chest. It was not a burden, but it was not ordinary either. Before dawn, Liora stirred again. She managed to sit upright this time, though with effort. Human warrior, she said softly. Rian. I owe you more than I can say. But I must warn you. What you did may bind us beyond choice. My people believe that once blood is shared in this way, a life link is formed. Two hearts, tied together. Rian looked at her steadily. Then I will carry that bond. I will not turn away from it. Her lips curved into a faint, tired smile. You are strange among your kind. Few would have dared such a step. I do not see it as a step, Rian replied. I see it as the only path. You are alive. That is enough for me. Silence followed, gentle and calm. The firelight painted their faces in gold and shadow. The bond between them pulsed quietly, unseen but undeniable. As the first light of dawn touched the trees, Rian knew their journey had only begun. The risk he had taken was far beyond imagination, yet he did not regret it. He had given his blood to a dying alien princess, and in doing so, he had opened a door to a destiny neither of them could yet understand. The morning sun rose over the forest, shining through the broken trees and falling on the wreck of the alien ship. Rian sat near the fire, sharpening his blade, while Princess Liora rested inside the craft. Her color had returned, and her breathing was steady. Yet even with her strength slowly returning, Rian could sense something unusual about her. When she stepped out of the wreck for the first time, the air around her seemed different. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the morning light, and her movements, though careful, carried new energy. She looked around the forest as if she could see farther and hear more than before. Rian noticed it too. The moment she stepped closer, he felt the strange pull inside his chest grow stronger. It was not painful, but it was undeniable. It was as though an invisible thread connected them, and each step she took toward him tugged gently on his heart. Liora placed her hand on a nearby tree, closing her eyes. "The air speaks louder now," she whispered. "Every sound, every breath of wind, I feel it clearly." She turned to Rian, her expression thoughtful. "This change began only after you gave me your blood." Rian studied her carefully. "You believe it altered you?" She nodded slowly. "Yes. My senses are sharper. My body feels stronger. But more than that," she hesitated, then looked directly into his eyes. "I can feel you, Rian. Even when you are silent. I sense your thoughts like faint whispers, your heart like a distant rhythm." Rian frowned. "I thought it was only me. Since last night, I have felt something too. A connection." Liora stepped closer. "It is the life link. My people speak of it in stories. It is said to form only between chosen pairs, a bond so deep that even time cannot break it. But never in our history has it happened between my kind and yours." The words sank deep into Rian's mind. He had not asked for such a bond, yet he did not regret saving her. Still, the weight of what she said pressed upon him. "If this bond is real," he asked carefully, "what does it mean for us?" Liora's voice was soft but steady. "It means our lives are tied together. When you hurt, I may feel it. When you are strong, I may draw from it. And if one of us falls, the other may carry the pain." Rian grew silent. He thought of all the battles he had fought, the scars he carried, the lonely paths he had walked. Now his life was no longer his alone. A part of it belonged to her. She noticed his silence and added gently, "I do not seek to bind you unwillingly, Rian. This bond was born in desperation, not choice. But we must face it together." Rian finally nodded. "Then together it will be." For the next hours, they tested the bond without speaking of it too loudly. Rian walked into the forest, and though he moved quietly, Liora always knew the direction he had taken. When she closed her eyes, she could sense his presence like a faint flame in the distance. At the same time, Rian began to notice things he could not explain. When she felt sudden fear from the crack of a branch, he felt it too before even seeing her reaction. When she steadied her breath, his own breathing grew calmer without effort. The bond was real. As the day passed, Rian prepared food from the forest. He roasted small game over the fire and gathered wild fruits. Liora accepted the food with quiet gratitude. Though her hands still shook slightly, she no longer looked as fragile as before. While they ate, she spoke of her people. "In my empire, the royal line is believed to carry the blessing of the stars. Our blood is sacred. To share it is to share destiny. If my people learn that I carry human blood, some may see it as strength, but others may see it as weakness. They will not understand." Rian listened carefully. "Then we keep it secret until the right time." Her eyes softened at his words. "You speak as though you are already part of my struggle." He shrugged lightly. "Perhaps I am. The bond doesn't give us much of a choice, does it?" For the first time since he had met her, Liora laughed softly. The sound was gentle, like water over stone, and it surprised even her. "You are strange, Rian. Most would run from such a weight, yet you sit here calmly, as if this is only another path in the forest." Rian smiled faintly. "I have walked many paths. Some harder than others. This one is no different." Evening came again, and the bond grew stronger. As they sat near the fire, Liora suddenly clutched her chest. Rian felt it too, a sharp pull inside his heart. He rushed to her side, but she raised her hand. "Do not fear. It is the bond adjusting. Our bodies are learning to share strength. Sure enough, the pain faded quickly, replaced by warmth that spread through both of them. Rian realized he felt less tired than before, as though energy flowed into him from her. She too looked steadier, her eyes brighter. This is only the beginning, Liora said quietly. The bond will grow stronger each day. It may bring us power, but it may also bring danger. Others will sense it. Rian looked into the forest, shadows stretching long in the firelight. Then we must be ready. That night, as the stars filled the sky, both of them lay awake, each aware of the other even in silence. Rian thought of the journey ahead, of dangers unseen. Liora thought of her throne, her people, and the secret now carried in her blood. Between them, the bond pulsed like a hidden heartbeat, quiet yet unbreakable. The warrior and the princess, two lives once separate, were now tied together by fate. And as the night deepened, both understood that their story was only beginning. The second night passed quietly in the forest, but Rian felt the bond between him and Princess Liora growing stronger with every breath. When he woke at dawn, he noticed she was already awake, sitting near the broken edge of her ship. Her eyes were fixed on the sky, where the first rays of morning painted the clouds in gold. She looked thoughtful, almost burdened, as though the weight of her entire world rested on her shoulders. Rian stepped closer, his boots brushing against the fallen leaves. "You did not sleep," he said gently. Liora shook her head. "Sleep comes lightly to me now. Dreams whisper too loudly. They remind me of what I left behind." Rian sat down beside her, resting his arms on his knees. "Then tell me what you left behind. Perhaps speaking of it will ease the weight." She turned to him, her silver eyes steady. For a moment she hesitated, as if deciding whether to trust him fully. Then, with a slow breath, she began. "I am not only Princess Liora," she said. "I am heir to the Star Throne, the seat of my empire. My people believe that the ruler is chosen not only by birth, but by the purity of the royal blood. For generations, our line has been seen as unbroken, carrying the light of the stars themselves." Rian listened carefully, not interrupting. "My ship was not on a simple journey," she continued. "I was fleeing from those who would end that line. There are factions within the empire who fear my rise. Some wish to place another on the throne. My craft was struck in space, and I fell here. I should have died." Her voice grew softer. "But instead, I live with human blood inside me. And that changes everything." Rian leaned forward slightly. "You fear your people will not accept it?" She nodded. "Yes. To them, the royal blood is sacred. If they discover it has been mixed, some may see it as corruption. They may say I am no longer worthy to rule." Her words carried pain, but also defiance. She clenched her hand, as if gripping something unseen. "But I know this, your blood saved me when mine failed. That truth cannot be denied. Yet it is a truth I cannot yet share openly." Rian thought for a long moment. "Then we keep the secret safe, until the time comes when it must be revealed." Liora looked at him with quiet wonder. "You speak as though this is your burden too." He gave a faint smile. "Perhaps it is. The bond ties us, Liora. If you carry this weight, then so do I. You are not alone." For a moment, her eyes softened, and she seemed less like a royal heir and more like a young woman facing impossible choices. "In my empire, bonds are rare and sacred. To hear you speak so simply of carrying it, it humbles me." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the forest stir with life. Birds sang in the trees, and the river nearby murmured softly. Yet beneath the peaceful sounds, both knew shadows lingered. If her enemies had struck her ship, they might not stop until they found her. Later that day, Rian explored the wreck further, searching for supplies. Most of the ship was destroyed, but he found a small storage box filled with strange crystals that glowed faintly. When he carried them out, Liora's eyes widened. These are memory crystals, she explained. They hold the records of my house family lines, history, knowledge of rulers past. They are proof of my claim to the throne. Rian placed the box carefully beside her. Then we must protect them. If they are lost, your enemies will gain more than victory, they will erase your name from history. Her hands rested on the box with care, as though it were her heart itself. You see what even my own council may not see. You are not of my people, yet you guard what matters most to us. Rian gave a simple nod. Because it matters to you. That evening, as the fire crackled again, Liora told him more of her royal line. She spoke of her father, a ruler both kind and strong, who had tried to keep peace in the empire. She spoke of her mother, who had died young, leaving her as the only child of the throne. She spoke of the oaths sworn by the guardians of her people, and the burden she had carried since her childhood. But when she spoke of the future, her voice grew uncertain. I was raised to believe my path was written. That the stars guided every step of my line. Yet here I am, alive only because of you, a human warrior from beyond our empire. Does that mean the stars have chosen differently? Or does it mean fate is greater than I imagined? Rian looked into the fire. I cannot answer for your stars, princess. But I know this fate often writes paths we cannot see until we walk them. Perhaps your survival is not against destiny, but part of it. Her eyes lingered on him, thoughtful and searching. You speak like one who has carried destiny before. He shrugged. I have carried burdens, but none as great as yours. Still, burdens feel lighter when shared. The bond pulsed faintly between them then, warm and steady. Both of them felt it, though neither spoke of it aloud. That night, as Rian kept watch, Liora slept more peacefully than before. Her body was healing, her strength returning, but the bond between them was the true shield that kept her alive. Rian sat quietly, his eyes scanning the dark forest. He knew dangers waited beyond the trees. Enemies might be searching even now. But he also knew something else, whatever came, he would not let her fall. Inside the wreck, Liora stirred in her dreams. She saw visions of a throne room filled with light, but beside her stood not her council, not her guards, but a human warrior whose blood had bound her life to his. The next morning, Rian and Princess Liora prepared to leave the forest. The wrecked ship could not take them further, but it held the supplies they needed to start their journey. Liora's strength had returned, though she remained cautious. The bond between them pulsed quietly, steady and unseen, guiding them as they moved together through the trees. This path will take us to the hidden beacon, Rian explained, pointing toward a distant ridge. It is a device that can call your people. Once we reach it, they will know you are alive. Liora nodded, adjusting the strap of her pack. The beacon is our only hope, yet I fear the journey. My enemies may follow. They strike fast and without warning. Rian scanned the forest carefully. Then we move quietly. Together we will watch for danger. The forest gradually opened to wide plains. The ground was dry, and tall grasses swayed in the wind. Rian led the way, walking with steady steps, while Liora followed close behind. She had learned to move quietly, using techniques her people had taught her as a princess in training. Though she was lighter and smaller than Rian, her agility impressed him. As the sun climbed higher, they rested near a clear stream. Rian filled their canteens and offered water to Liora. She drank slowly, savoring the cool liquid. It is strange, she said softly. My body is stronger, yet I still feel a new energy inside me. It is tied to you, Rian. I feel it in every step, in every breath. He frowned slightly. The bond, it is more than I expected. I feel it too. Sometimes it is like a whisper in my mind. Sometimes it is like a pull guiding me. Liora studied him carefully. That pull is not only for survival. It may be for balance, for connection. Our bodies are learning to work together. Soon, we may be able to trust it completely. Rian nodded. Then we watch it, and we listen. I will not let it control us, but I will not ignore it either. As they moved forward, the plains gave way to rocky hills. The sun beat down on them, yet Rian felt confident. Liora's presence beside him made him feel stronger than he had in years. He had faced storms, wild creatures, and armed enemies before, but nothing had given him a sense of purpose like this journey. During one rest stop, Liora examined the small crystals from her ship. These crystals contain the knowledge of my ancestors, she said. They show the history of our rulers, the laws of our empire, and the paths of those who came before me. I study them to remember who I am. Rian picked one up carefully. It glowed faintly in his hand. And will this knowledge help you survive the journey ahead? She smiled faintly. It will help me understand the choices I must make. But survival, that depends on more than knowledge. It depends on trust, courage, and the bond we share. The day turned into evening as they climbed a narrow ridge. From the top, they could see the land stretching for miles, a mix of forests, plains, and distant mountains. The hidden beacon they sought lay beyond the mountains, in a valley known only to Liora and her people. It is close, she said, pointing to the valley below. If we move quickly and carefully, we can reach it before nightfall. Rian scanned the valley. And if enemies are there? Liora hesitated. Then we will have to face them together. The bond will help us. It will make us stronger than either of us alone. As they descended toward the valley, the wind carried a strange scent. Liora paused, closing her eyes. Someone has passed this way recently. Perhaps scouts. We must move with care. Rian nodded, adjusting the strap of his pack and checking his blade. Lead the way. I will follow your guidance. The journey continued with careful steps. Rian and Liora moved silently, trusting the bond that guided them. At times, Rian felt her presence even when she was behind him, as if a second set of eyes watched the path. Liora, in turn, sensed his heartbeat and the subtle shifts of the terrain, helping her avoid loose stones and hidden holes. Around midday, they reached a small river that blocked their path. The water was cold and fast, but shallow enough to cross. Liora tested the current with her hand. We can cross here, she said. Hold my hand, and I will guide you. Rian nodded and followed her. As they stepped into the river, the bond pulsed stronger. It was as if the water itself responded to them, guiding their steps and keeping them steady. By the time they reached the opposite bank, neither had fallen or slipped. They paused to rest, sitting on a flat rock. Liora looked at him, her silver eyes thoughtful. This bond, it is growing stronger with every step. I can feel your thoughts clearer, Rian. And I believe you can feel mine. He nodded. Yes. It is strange, but I do not fear it. It feels right. Like we are meant to face this journey together. Evening fell as they approached the edge of the valley where the hidden beacon waited. Shadows stretched long, and the air grew cooler. Liora paused at the top of a hill, looking down at the valley. There it is, she whispered. The beacon rose in the center, a tall structure glowing faintly with light. If we reach it, my people will know I am alive. Rian placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we move carefully. We are close now, and we must not be seen. As they descended into the valley, the bond pulsed more strongly than ever. Both of them felt it, not only as a connection but as guidance, like a hidden current leading them safely toward their goal. For the first time since her ship had crashed, Liora felt hope that she might reach the beacon alive. And for the first time, Rian felt that his purpose was no longer just survival, it was protection, loyalty, and a bond that neither time nor danger could break. Together, the warrior and the princess stepped into the valley, ready to face whatever awaited at the hidden beacon. The valley stretched wide beneath Rian and Princess Liora as they carefully descended toward the hidden beacon. The air was cool, and the glow of the structure ahead cast long reflections on the river that wound through the valley. Everything seemed calm, yet both knew the calm could hide danger. The bond between them pulsed steadily, a quiet signal of connection, but also a warning that they must stay alert. Rian scanned the valley as they moved, his hand resting on his blade. "Stay close," he whispered. "We don't know what may be waiting for us." Liora nodded. Her silver eyes flicked across the terrain, noting every rock, every shadow. "I can feel it," she said softly. "They are near, watching from a distance. My enemies know I am moving toward the beacon. Scouts may be here, hidden, observing us." Rian's brow furrowed. "Then we move carefully. Step by step, until we reach the beacon safely." The pair proceeded with caution, their movements synchronized without words. The bond guided them, giving each a sense of the other's intentions. When Liora spotted a loose stone, Rian avoided it instinctively. When he paused at a low branch, she felt the hesitation and adjusted her step. The connection between them was stronger than either had expected. As they neared the center of the valley, they noticed small signs of intrusion: disturbed grass, broken branches, faint tracks leading toward the beacon. Liora stopped and crouched low. "They have been here recently. Not long ago. Someone is trying to intercept me before my people learn I survive." Rian nodded. "Then we cannot rush. We must be patient and careful. The bond will guide us, and together we will not fail." They advanced slowly, hiding behind rocks and tall grass. Every movement was deliberate, every step measured. Rian kept his eyes on the valley, while Liora focused on the subtle vibrations in the air. Through the bond, he sensed her tension and her courage, and it strengthened his own resolve. Suddenly, a shadow moved along the far side of the valley. A figure, cloaked and silent, was approaching the beacon. Liora froze, and Rian felt her heartbeat quicken through the bond. He gripped her arm gently. "Do not be afraid. We face this together." The shadow stopped for a moment, scanning the valley. Liora whispered, "They are scouts, not leaders. They will not harm us unless we are careless. But we must be ready." Rian nodded. "Then we wait for the right moment." They crouched low, hidden among the rocks, observing the scouts from a distance. Liora's senses were sharper than before, and through the bond, Rian could sense the faint movements of the enemy as if they were shadows stretching across the ground. Hours passed, and the sun began to set. The valley was bathed in golden light, casting long shadows that shifted with the wind. The scouts moved closer to the beacon, but Liora and Rian remained hidden. The bond pulsed steadily, a silent rhythm of shared patience and trust. Finally, Liora spoke softly. "We cannot wait any longer. The beacon must be reached before night falls completely. We will be seen if we delay." Rian studied the scouts. "Then we move now. Step lightly, and trust the bond." Together, they advanced toward the beacon. The bond guided them, each step bringing them closer and keeping them balanced. Rian felt Liora's strength in his own body, and she felt his courage in her chest. They were moving as one, connected by something deeper than mere survival. As they neared the base of the beacon, one of the scouts turned suddenly, spotting movement among the rocks. Rian froze, and Liora felt the alert in the bond. The scout began to approach quickly. "Now," Rian whispered, and they moved with speed and precision. Using the shadows and the uneven terrain, they slipped past the scout without being seen. The scout stumbled forward, confused by the sudden disappearance of the figures he had spotted. They reached the base of the beacon and crouched behind its glowing structure. Liora placed her hands on the control panel, her fingers moving with purpose. "This will call my people. They will know I am alive, and they will send protection." Rian watched the valley, keeping his senses alert. The scouts might try to intercept them, but the bond between him and Liora made them confident. Even if danger approached, they could respond as one. As the beacon activated, a bright light rose into the sky, a signal that could be seen for miles. Liora felt her pulse quicken with hope, and Rian felt it too, through the bond. It was a sign that their journey was not in vain. Moments later, a distant hum filled the air. Liora's people were coming, responding to the beacon's signal. Relief washed over her, but she remained cautious. They will arrive soon, but we cannot let our guard down until they are close. Rian nodded. Then we keep moving, stay together, and trust the bond. Nothing will separate us now. The shadows shifted again, and more scouts appeared on the valley floor. Liora and Rian remained hidden, moving as one through the cover of the terrain. Each step was careful, each motion synchronized, guided by the silent rhythm of their connection. Finally, the first ships of her people appeared on the horizon, moving quickly to the valley. The scouts hesitated, realizing that reinforcements were near, and slowly retreated. The danger passed, and the bond between Rian and Liora pulsed warmly, a quiet celebration of their success. Liora turned to Rian, her silver eyes shining. We have reached the beacon. My people know I am alive. We have survived together, guided by the bond. Rian smiled faintly. And we will continue to survive together. Whatever comes next, we face it side by side. For the first time since the crash, Liora felt true confidence. She was not alone, and her life was no longer fragile. With Rian by her side and the bond connecting them, she knew they could overcome any challenge that lay ahead. The valley was quiet now, except for the hum of the beacon and the distant approach of her people. Rian and Liora stood together, ready to face the next chapter of their journey, stronger than ever because of the bond that had carried them through danger. The valley glowed with the light of the beacon as Princess Liora and Rian stood together. The distant hum of approaching ships filled the air, a comforting sound that signaled the arrival of her people. Liora's heart raced with hope and anticipation, but her eyes remained on Rian. The bond between them pulsed strongly, steady and reassuring. She had survived, not by chance, but through his courage, and now the moment to reunite with her people was near. Rian stood beside her quietly, his eyes scanning the horizon. Though the danger from the scouts had passed, he remained alert. The bond had shown him every subtle shift in her energy, every movement that hinted at caution. They had faced shadows together, and he was ready to face whatever came next. As the first of the royal ships descended into the valley, Liora took a deep breath. The ships were sleek, silver, and unlike any human craft. They carried symbols of her empire, glowing softly in the evening light. Her people would soon see her alive, and the sight of her standing unharmed would inspire them greatly. Rian noticed the subtle change in her expression. She was no longer just a princess fleeing danger. She was a leader returning to her people, strengthened by survival and the bond she shared with him. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. Liora turned to him, her silver eyes shining. "Yes. But remember, this is not only about my return. It is about what you have done, Rian. My people will need to understand that your courage, your choice to give your blood, saved my life. That truth cannot be hidden." Rian gave a faint nod. "Then we tell them together, when the time is right." The ships landed gently on the valley floor, their engines humming a quiet melody of technology and power. Guards and attendants poured out, moving quickly toward the beacon. Liora's royal advisors, her most trusted allies, approached with awe in their eyes. They had received the signal and had feared she might be lost forever. Liora stepped forward, her posture straight and strong, as Rian stayed beside her. The bond between them gave her courage, and it gave him purpose. The advisors paused when they saw her, then bowed deeply, relief and respect shining in their expressions. "Princess Liora," one said, his voice trembling with emotion, "we feared you were lost. Your return, it is a miracle." Liora smiled softly. "I am alive, thanks to this human warrior," she said, gesturing toward Rian. "He saved my life when all hope seemed lost. His courage is why I am here today." Rian stepped forward, nodding respectfully to the advisors. Though he was not of her world, he felt the weight of their respect and the quiet acknowledgement of his deed. The bond pulsed warmly, and he realized that he had become more than a stranger. He had become part of her journey, part of her story. One of the advisors stepped closer, examining him with curiosity. "You are human," the man said. "Yet you have acted with loyalty and courage beyond what we have seen. How is this possible?" Rian shrugged simply. "Courage does not belong to one race or another. It belongs to anyone who chooses to act when it matters most." Liora placed her hand gently on his arm. "And I chose him," she said quietly. "He is part of the bond that kept me alive. That bond is sacred, and it ties our fates together." The advisors whispered among themselves, some surprised, others thoughtful. Yet they could see the truth in Liora's eyes. She was alive, and she had survived something that no ordinary plan could explain. The human beside her had given her more than life. He had given her hope, trust, and strength. As night fell, the royal ships lifted slightly to form a protective circle around the valley. Liora looked up at the stars, then at Rian. "Our journey together is not over," she said. "This bond will guide us in the days ahead. My enemies will not give up, but we are stronger now." Rian smiled faintly. "Then we face it together. Whatever comes, I will not leave your side." The bond pulsed warmly, as if echoing his words. It was more than connection. It was trust, courage, and understanding. It was proof that two lives, different in every way, could join to face challenges greater than either could face alone. Liora's people approached to embrace her, and she returned their greetings with dignity and grace. She felt their warmth, their relief, and their awe at her survival. But through it all, her eyes found Rian's, and the unspoken promise between them remained clear. One of her advisors finally spoke aloud, a note of respect in his voice. "Human, you have acted with honor beyond what any of us could expect. You have saved the princess, and by extension, our empire. We are grateful for your courage." Rian inclined his head. "I did what was right. That is enough." Liora stepped closer to him. "It is never just enough, Rian. What you did changed my fate. You made me whole again when I was broken. And for that, you will always be remembered." The bond pulsed between them, brighter than ever, a silent testament to the journey they had shared. Shadows had tried to take her, scouts had sought to stop them, yet together they had moved past every danger. Their connection had carried them, guiding them to safety. That night, as the royal camp settled and the beacon's light continued to shine, Liora and Rian stood together outside her ship. The bond pulsed quietly, a steady heartbeat linking their lives. "You have changed my world, Rian," Liora said softly. "Not just by saving my life, but by showing me courage, loyalty, and trust beyond measure. I will never forget this." Rian met her gaze. "And I will never forget you. Whatever comes next, we face it together. That is what the bond has made certain." The stars above them glimmered, reflecting in Liora's silver eyes. The future was uncertain, yet brighter than it had been before. She had survived, the bond had guided them, and Rian had become more than a warrior, he had become part of her life, inseparable and unbroken. In that moment, amidst the soft glow of the beacon and the quiet hum of her people's ships, they both understood the truth: life had brought them together not by chance, but by choice, courage, and an unyielding connection. And whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side, bound by a trust stronger than any threat, stronger than any fear. Together, the human warrior and the alien princess looked toward the stars, ready for the future, stronger than ever, and unbroken.